those 17 days under this big roof is really something special.
From Eat Drink Fun, this is the Eat Drink Fun podcast. I'm Chris Miller. Hey everybody, welcome back, and Guten Tag oder Grüß Gott, because today's topic is Bierfest. Thankfully, large public events and gatherings are finally back, and for southern Germany, that means the return of massive beer festivals. Now, everyone's heard of the Munich Oktoberfest in Bavaria, but in the neighboring state of Baden-Württemberg, in the capital of Stuttgart, they share a similar agrarian tradition of drinking beer in huge tents. Like their Bavarian neighbors, the Schwabes hold this harvest festival for 3 weeks in the fall, and it's known as the Cannstatter Volksfest, or the Wasen. Now, Wasen is a meadow. Actually, technically, the Munich, they call it the Wiesen, which is the word for meadow, but in Stuttgart, it's a Wasen. And for 3 weeks in the spring, the Stuttgarters also enjoy the Frühlingsfest, or the Kleine Wasen, which means little meadow, but in reality, it's the largest spring festival in Europe. Now, I'm not one for public math, but that basically means you can spend about 8% of an average year in southern Germany in some sort of huge beer tent, which is awesome. To be honest, I really prefer the Wasen in Stuttgart to the Wiesen in Munich. And just a short anecdote as to why. In Munich, you can't even be served a beer unless you've got a wristband and you're seated at a table. But in Stuttgart, you can get into the tent more easily without a wristband or a reservation, and you can order a beer while you're dancing or singing in the aisles, and you can even go in the corner and hang out at a bar and sip a cocktail or have some wine. First, though, I want to take a second to do a little scene setting. Stuttgart is first and foremost a car town. The city and its suburbs are home to Daimler, the Mercedes-Benz Group, and Porsche, and also Bosch, which is a huge engineering company. So like Bavaria, it's obviously a pretty wealthy and successful place. But Schwäbisch culture also has its roots in farming and herding, from Switzerland through the Black Forest, past Stuttgart, up the Neckar River, all the way to Heidelberg. The people are hardworking, they're innovative, after all, the automobile was invented here, and they're traditionally Catholic. And even if they present a pretty formal exterior at first, they really love their parties and their festivals. In this podcast episode, I speak with Karl Maier, who, with his wife Daniella, runs the family festival event business called the Göckelesmaier. Our conversation ranges from the beginnings of the Göckelesmaier business to their evolution of their brand and their unique design style, to beer and local food specialties, and to the amazing engineering that goes into these tents. So if you have time, please check out the video in the show notes called Aufbau. It's amazing. Naturally, with the pandemic, there have been no public festivals this size since 2019. In fact, we recorded this episode last year, and we haven't had still a full-scale beer fest with actual large tents. So it's great news that from the 23rd of September to the 9th of October 2022, the Cannstatter Volksfest is back. It's also a little important to know before we begin that a Göckel is a rooster. And when their business began, there were several families that worked these festivals that shared the same last name, Maier. So Karl's father became known as the Göckelesmaier because his business focused on selling roasted chickens. Since 1998, Karl and Daniella have grown and evolved their family brand, making their tent a major crowd favorite. And so with that intro, I hope you enjoy this Bierfest episode with Karl Maier of the Göckelesmaier. Begin with first the background and the history, which I think is interesting. Is it began, as I understand, with your father, and if you read on the website, he began with ice cream, which it's funny. It's my favorite thing. If I were on death row, and they said it's your last meal, Chris, what do you get to eat? And I'd say I just want some ice cream. That's it. So it's funny. He started an ice cream business, and he ended up having to pivot and started sort of a rotisserie or bratwurst first, and then a rotisserie chicken.
Yeah. He found out that ice cream, of course, is very seasonal in Germany. It's not a whole year round business, and then he changed to bratwurst, and and small kind of imbiss products, and made his way around all the exhibitions. Actually, in the beginning, not really the festivals, but more the exhibition kind of events, and then he found out that people have to eat on these festivals. They were not as big as they are now in these days. We're talking about times before World War II. And then he, at some point, he wanted to learn about the preparation and the selling of chicken. And we didn't have roasted chicken at all in this state, in Baden-Württemberg. So he went to Munich to the Oktoberfest, and there was this one very traditional chicken tent called Ammer, and the really most traditional venue of this kind, and he did 2 Oktoberfests there, and being a baker, that's what he learned. He has learned as a young man. He could stand the heat. So the boss there, Mr. Ammer, really got to like him, and he somehow they got along very well. And after the second Oktoberfest that he did, he asked Mr. Ammer not to pay him in cash money, but he wanted to give him 2 of the old grills that he didn't use anymore, with charcoal. Really hard work. And wow. And Mr. Ammer said, okay, you can take those 2 old grills and do whatever you want. And then with those 2 old grills, he started his own business here in Baden-Württemberg as a kind of chicken pioneer. Nobody else did that before. And the beginning was pretty tough. He managed to get a little space at the Cannstatter Volksfest with his chicken business. Yeah,
it was more like a stall, and he just had 2 roasters behind him. Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah. And he also he still sold bratwurst. But he always told my mother that in the first couple of days and weeks here in Baden-Württemberg, people were standing in front of the grills and looking at the chicken, but nobody bought anything. What they bought was still the bratwurst. And then at the end of the day, he had to throw away all the chicken. But then from day to day, from time to time, it started to get a little better. And that was kind of the start of chicken in Baden-Württemberg. And today, every tent does it, and some do it better, some a little.
It's just incredible because you ask a lot of folks who go to the Oktoberfest, or folks their concept of Germany, and sausage always comes up, Wurst, which is understandable. Germans do Wurst probably better than anyone in the world. It's delicious. But you don't necessarily hear about the 2 things that I love the most about fast food, which is the chicken, the Brathändel, and Schweinehaxe, pork knuckles. And pork knuckles they exist in a lot of cultures, and obviously roasted chicken, a lot of cultures. But there's something about that rotisserie chicken here. And if you ever see it, it's literally a wall, 30, 40 feet long of hundreds of chickens on spits roasting. It's almost, as I've seen in your tent, it's almost like a display. It's like, hey, You know, it's something to really behold. And I mean, I'm curious, how many, in an average fest in a normal year, how many chickens are you usually selling?
On the Cannstatter Vasen?
Yeah, on the
Volksfest in fall, the fall festival, about 25,000.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, it's the number one thing that we usually go to eat is this chicken, and yeah, it's funny that it's kind of, at least from the outside, it's not the first thing that comes to mind. Yeah, usually it's the sausage, usually it's the other things, but sauerkraut, something like that. Yeah, the fest chicken is the thing that I love. So, you know, we mentioned the Volksfest in the fall and the Frühlingsfest in the spring, but you've built this business now. Your father started it, you've taken it on, and you're in over 10 other festivals throughout the year, right? In Tübingen and Göppingen.
No, Tübingen not anymore. Göppingen, yes. Okay. And then there is a festival in Balingen, in the Zollern-Alb region. And then we have Heilbronn as a big festival. Then there's the Pferdemarkt in Bietigheim and the 2 Stuttgart festivals. Right now it's the season consists of 6 festivals.
6 festivals. These are huge. It's funny, when I think of a tent, and when most people think of a tent, it's some sort of relatively thin, kind of simple construction. But to paint the picture of what these tents actually are, I mean, we're talking steel girders, enormous wood beams, they're massive. It's something that if I think we erected at home, it would be a permanent construction. But here you do it, you know, it seems multiple times a year. And, you know, can you describe a little bit about what goes into, number one, you know, the concept for the design of these tents, how long it takes to assemble them, you know, what are the challenges involved? How did this concept kind of evolve? Because I know you always had this meadow, Vasen, whatever you call it. And then, you know, this would be the place where you'd have these public events and you would construct something. But this huge tent construction, how far back does that go, and how did that evolve? Do you know?
Well, there have always been huge tents on the Cannstatter Volksfest, but they were more simple, much more simple than they are right now. The construction itself is still pretty simple, the naked construction. But then nowadays you have a wooden floor, which you didn't have in the old days, of course. And that gives a whole different impression if you walk in and you're walking on a wooden floor and not on the bare pavement.
Right.
And then you start to put into this simple construction other constructions, and these constructions then are made out of wood, of course, because it has a much nicer appeal, and then
it's a better aesthetic. It just looks great.
Yeah, and then you actually, if you're inside the tent, you don't have the feeling to be in a tent. You have the feeling to be in a wooden structure, and you've got in the so-called VIP areas, you've got your wooden ceilings, and you've got bars
and chandeliers
and everything. Yeah. Bars that look like nice hotel bars or nightclub bars. You've got a very sophisticated lighting concept nowadays that you can really control. We do have, not everyone has it, but we put a lot of emphasis on lighting. So we have a controlling system that we can dim all the lights during the evening, right. Make it darker, make it more cozy. You do need a lot of light during the day, but when it's getting dark outside, you have to dim. You have to be able to dim the lights, which is a lot of work and a lot of controlling that's behind that.
It's just an extraordinary amount of engineering that goes into all of this. That's really amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people are involved in this.
Yeah. Well, one thing is I noticed particularly with your brand, with the Göckelesmaier, is it's really, I want to say progressive, but it's innovative. It's new. It's fresher. It is distinguished from, I think, the rest of the tents. And that's not to diminish what they are, because some of them, they're very traditional. They have a very nice feeling. I mean, all of the tents have a tremendous feeling when you go in. The Göckelesmaier has kind of this more trend style, and they're a little bit more modern, which to some folks, they might come as a little bit of a shock, but it's nice. You have these beautiful monitors or screens up there, and people are, either they're on social media or something like that and posting things, and it'll, show up, and it's far more interactive. And there was obviously a lot of thought given to this design. So as I mentioned before we started the interview, I was here 20 years ago, and even then it was a very different fest. It was, the buildings, the construction was different. The attire, I want to kind of get into that, was different. I mean, we just wore normal clothes to the fest. You didn't really dress up for the fest, which a lot of people do now. So maybe can you tell me a little bit about, how in recent years, sort of just the tent evolution happened and where the design ideas came from and that concept? Yeah.
Well, the design idea is my wife and I, we kind of, we have as a hobby, more or less, we like going places, and we like architecture, and my wife is a graphic designer. So
that makes sense.
We like to go around all over the world and see things, and when we really like it, then we try to take it back and see how we can use it in our business. We like design, we like architecture, and we always, when we started about 20 years ago, 25 almost, we knew that in order to distinguish a little bit from all the others, we have to do something and not do the same thing that everybody else does. As good at it as it is, but we had the feeling that we have to go in another direction. So architecture and design was our one of the little mosaic parcels that pieces that we tried to implement in this, and thought that might be a good idea. And not only is it a good idea, but also is it what we like to do. We have fun in thinking about things like that, thinking about how the new bar in this little box could look like. How the chicken are presented, like you said, how the beer, the filling of the beer into the mug. You can hide this process behind a wall, but you can also show it offensively and illuminate it, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And as you mentioned before, the lighting is so important. Even with the bars, there's sort of that soft lighting, and it's very welcoming. It's warming, but I don't know. The lighting can really impact the way you feel about a space, right? So
music and lighting.
Music and lighting, yeah. I wanted to ask you about, what people wear to the fest, because that to me was sort of the biggest shock. When I left here years ago, most people came in their regular clothes, and they were at the fest, and somewhere along the line, they sort of embraced sort of Bavarian Tracht. So everyone's in lederhosen now. I'm wearing a checkered shirt, which, it's fun because it's makes it a different experience too, to sort of dress up and go somewhere. When did that happen, and why did it happen, I guess?
Why did it happen? Well, why it happened, I really don't know. We have probably been the first ones to tease this a little bit, because we made our waiters and waitresses wear dirndl and lederhosen, because what else should they wear? It for us it made sense, and my mother always. Well, she was Bavarian. She was born in the near Munich.
This is Josephine.
Josephine, and she always wore a dirndl. Always, even 50 years ago.
Sure. Well, that's the thing, is even if you go to Bavaria today, and especially if you're out in the country, I mean, people still wear this on a daily basis.
But what people don't know is that also in Baden-Württemberg, there's a lot of really traditional Tracht. What you buy nowadays in those Trachten shops is mostly a mixture, influences from Bavaria, of course, Austria, Switzerland, but also we do have influences from Baden-Württemberg.
Is it a Schwäbisch influence?
Schwäbisch, and we have really custom-made dirndl for the waitresses, and we try to take over some Schwäbische Trachten.
Because if I recall correctly, the dirndl in sort of the Black Forest, the Schwarzwald area, it's a darker pattern, right? It's a dark dress. And of course, there's the very unique hat that has the balls on it. You don't really see that so much, but I think your waitresses, they do wear sort of a darker pattern dirndl. So is that kind of the influence there?
Yeah. Somehow, yeah. That's it. And it's not that we imported the Bavarian Tracht to Stuttgart. It's more than we thought a Tracht is the right thing to wear on a festival like that, because the historic background of the Cannstatter Volksfest is ein Ernte Dankfest. It was made for the agricultural sector to show their new inventions and so on, and the Tracht was in those days for the farmers and the people who have worked in this area, is a festive dressing for Sundays. And also when they were working out on the fields, they also wore kind of dirndls which were more simple. And so we thought this is the right thing to wear. And then it somehow got along like a snowball.
When did that happen?
I would say about 15, 20 years ago, slowly, and then
now it's
and then it wasn't to stop anymore, because people, especially young people, they like to dress. And we always pushed that a little bit in that form, that we said, when the tent is closed, let's say on a Saturday evening, in the old years, like about 10 or 15 years ago, we said that your chances to get into the tent are much better if you're wearing a proper attire, which is a Tracht. And so the young kids, they started to have fun wearing dirndl and making their hair,
braiding their hair,
and they like it. It's something that
you look forward to, and you get to show off a little bit.
You show off a little bit. You make yourself a little bit more attractive, because let's face it, a woman, a girl in a dirndl is really something that you like to look at. And
now they have lederhosen as well. I mean, you even see lederhosen designed for women and everything like that. which also looks good. So it's interesting because, yeah, I think obviously from an outside perspective, that's something that attracts you to the event too. It says, look, you dress up for this thing.
The whole tent, if you're looking in a tent on a weekend evening and it's really fully packed and crowded and you're looking at 4,500 people in a certain, let's say, a little bit fancy and good looking attire, then it's a completely different picture than everybody wearing his jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned encouraging people to wear the tracht, especially when the tent fills up and there's a line outside. That exact thing happened to me and a couple friends of mine. We were in Munich actually several years ago, and there was a line outside, and the three of us were just walking by. Most of the people in line were not wearing any kind of tracht, but we had some, and as soon as my buddy showed up and I picked him up at the airport, we went and got outfitted, right? So I said, okay, we have to do this right. And the guy came to the door, the entrance, and he looked out and he saw the line and all this, and then he looked at us and he pointed at us and he said, "You in here." And so we're like, okay, we're in. We didn't even need to stand in line. Everyone online kind of looked at us like, oh man, should have bought some tract.
It helps to complete the whole picture.
Sure.
It's not only the chandeliers, it's not only the nice, stylish bars, and it's also the people who are inside.
Yeah.
And it completes the whole picture.
Absolutely. So I asked you earlier about, the number of chickens. Do you happen to have any idea also on how much beer actually gets sold or consumed, at least in your tent or maybe in the entire fest? I know in Munich every year they kind of publish statistics to include the number of lost, dentures that show up and things like this, kind of funny things. But, and I think they say about 6 million liters of beer or something like that gets consumed in the 3 weeks in Munich. The fest here is almost longer, is it not, than in Munich?
It's 17 days. It's 17 the same
days.
thing.
It's the same. It's just offset usually by 1 week or the other.
1 week, yeah. We're starting 1 week later.
But do you happen to know any of the stats on sort of beer consumption?
Well, I know what we sell, about 2,500 hectoliters, which is 250,000 liters.
Wow.
And if you multiply this by the number of tents, plus smaller venues outside, imbiss, beer gardens, and all that. But we will never reach the numbers of Munich.
They have more tents too.
They have more tents. Yeah. They are even bigger than ours, and they've got more visitors, more tourists, and they are more even more beer oriented than we are.
That is a nice thing.
If you're looking at the menu from the really sophisticated tents that they are in Munich, not all of them are really sophisticated, but they do have one or the other, and even there you will hardly find a wine or even soft drinks is really limited offer that they have. It's maybe you've got a limonade and a Spezi and Coke, and that's about it. And we have Holunderblüten, Schorle, and different kinds of wines, about 10 different sizes and sorts of champagne and everything. We do mix really sophisticated cocktails in our bars. You name it, and this is not happening in Munich, not at all.
Yeah, I think there's a beer zelt. There's a beer tent, or I'm sorry, a wine zelt in Munich that you can go to.
Yeah.
If you want wine, you go to the wine zelt. You don't go to most of the beer tents. In the beer tents, you get beer, right? But here, you can get everything, right? Cocktails in this corner, wine at your table, and it's really nice, and it's good wine. It's it's delicious stuff. Of course, no conversation these days would be complete without a brief discussion of the pandemic and the challenges that it brought. I mean, has it been helpful? Has the government been helpful at all in getting all this done? Yeah.
Yeah. We would not have been able to sit out 2 years without a penny of income, without help of the government, and of course we took money from the bank as a loan, a huge amount, but this alone did not really. It wasn't sufficient. So we also used the help of the government in all these programs. Like first of all, the Kurzarbeit is an instrument that is really helpful.
So that's for people who are unaware what Kurzarbeit is. It basically translates as short work. Short work, yeah. But it's a flexible system in Germany here that is, it allows you basically to reduce someone's hours, basically, and you don't have to lay them off or let them go.
That's it.
In the States, what happens almost immediately as a knee-jerk is you lay off the workforce. You let them go, and then they get and collect some unemployment and things like that. And in Germany, you have the system of Kurzarbeit where, you lose a lot as a business if you have to let your people go. You've trained them, they're skilled, they know what they're doing, and you want to keep their skills up. You want to keep them attached. They obviously need some benefits and the social system to survive and things like that. So this system enables you to keep those people at least partially part of their time, and then they're free to find another job or find some other source of income or something like that, but they stay connected to you, right?
Yeah, that's it. They do get a part of their usual salary, and they can be still stay employed with the company, and not and you don't lose them, because if we're talking about next spring festival, we have to start in October, November to put all this pieces together and to start what is needed to manage a festival like this, and then I need my staff.
Yeah,
and I don't want to go out on the market and look for completely new people.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a couple. I usually ask a few kind of quick questions around usually personal preferences, because one of the things that I like to dig out and sort of discover or find out is everyone has a favorite drink or a favorite place. You mentioned you and your wife like to travel a lot, and she is is a graphic designer, and you both have this interest in architecture. What are some favorite places that you like to go? And it's maybe specifically from a perspective of because the design is good and you like where that is.
Yeah. In Europe, it's probably London that we really love, in this perspective, and overseas, of course, we do love New York City. I especially like Chicago, from this point of view.
And the Art Deco piece of it, or what is it about Chicago?
Yeah, the Mies van der Rohe buildings and all that. I think Chicago is a really spectacular in ways of architecture, and New York City as well, of course. And then a lot of places you can go in Europe. You can go to Palma de Mallorca, maybe, and you can go to Paris. Barcelona is great. Italy is absolutely adorable in the Tuscany, all those cities. That's great.
It's beautiful. In fact, we were just in, thinking about design and just the way things have progressed in the last several decades. As I mentioned, we come over and ski every year. We ski a lot when we've been living here, but in a lot of these villages, and I think places like in Vorarlberg and Tirol, and we were just in Südtirol for a week.
Look at the ski hats in Lech.
In Lech, yeah, right. I mean, it's every year. There's something new. Even this summer, we were just there. They're putting in 2 more lifts. Mm-hmm. They're gonna redo some of their older lifts that were just 2 chairs, and so they're constantly making those improvements from an infrastructure perspective. But from the architecture, mm-hmm. the lighting, as you mentioned, this distressed wood with the backlighting and everything. The style, the sort of that alpine style is really nice. We were just at a hotel in Südtirol, mm-hmm. Near La Villa, between La Villa and Corvara.
Okay. I know that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spa, this contrast of sort of light wood and dark sort of slate, and the pool that just looks out at the Dolomites. I mean, it's... Yeah,
this alpine kind of architecture is great.
Yeah, it's really, really, really pretty. Do you have any... Again, you're going on a vacation. Do you have kind of a rhythm? Do you have regular places you go? Is it summertime? You usually go to, say, Asia, or is it wintertime you go somewhere? Or any regulars?
We also ski, of course, and we do a lot of. We try to get a lot of skiing in the winter. What we always use is the fall holiday, which unfortunately is only 1 week, because it's pretty much immediately right after the Vasen. So this is something that I need, and we try to get a little bit of sun and warmth, and go to Asia or to the Middle East, because we don't want to think about how the weather would be in this particular week. We just want to relax, know that it's going to be warm, know that we don't need long trousers, and just easy packing, and then relaxing. That's this 1 week in fall. Yeah. Summer is for me especially is not a really big vacation time, because the season is running. It's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days here and there, but not more. No, you have to look for your weeks in the calendar, but if you really want to, you can find them.
Yeah. Make it a priority. That's the most important thing. So, are you a wine drinker?
I'm if the question would be beer or wine, I would say it's rather beer, but I do like wine as well.
Do you have any particular preferences, or
German wines?
Yeah,
I try to taste a little bit even from other countries, but most of the white wines that I buy are German. A lot of them from Baden-Württemberg. Mm-hmm. I think it's just like buying. If you're living in a city like Stuttgart, where cars are built and everybody is connected somehow to those companies, if we want it or not, it's the way it is. Everybody somehow needs Mercedes and Porsche to be successful. Yeah. And so I buy cars that are made in Stuttgart, and I also buy wines that are made in Baden-Württemberg. Yeah. Not only, but at least 50%.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's the right thing.
Yeah,
and
buy local.
Yeah, buy local, and also because I like them,
and because they're great wines, and I don't think they get appreciated enough. Right? I mean, you have in Baden some of the best Pinot Noir that you can find really anywhere. Some excellent stuff, and even here in Stuttgart, I think we mentioned before we started. Lemberger is a grape here that is incredibly complex and rich, and I think sort of defies what most people imagine when they think of German wine. We're at a pretty high latitude, so you're thinking cooler climate and sort of lighter wines, lighter body. But Lemberger, that's aged in oak is really delicious and complex. And yeah, I think this is an untapped secret still, and hopefully people will figure it out at some point. But also that it might drive up the price of the wine, because the nice thing about buying wine here in Baden-Württemberg is, it's actually very reasonably priced. Yeah, it's very affordable too. Yeah. Which I appreciate, and I hope it doesn't get more expensive. But it's the price of having success, I guess. When supply is a little bit low and then demand goes way up, your prices are going to go up, right? How about beer then? You mentioned you're a beer drinker. What is your beer? And I was going to ask the connection also with the tent. And is there any influence there in which beers you carry, or how does that relationship work?
It's kind of a patriotic thing that I, of course, when I go and really buy beer for our household and for myself, then of course I always buy at least one of the beers that I sell. Being Wohl right now, or being Stuttgarter Hofbräu in the past years, but I also always buy different other things just to taste and to try and to see what they are like.
The thing that's interesting, you mentioned Wohl. There's a friend of mine down actually, and like every time I go there, I feel obligated to bring him a case of Wohl, because they can't get it. It's a great local beer, but it's also, it's like one of those things. If you ask someone from Hamburg, they're probably going to drink Astra, right? They're just, sure. It's a local thing.
It's a local thing. Yeah. That's how the brewery market has always functioned for decades. That's for generations even. It's a local thing, and it's good that way.
So in Munich, it's sort of the tents are usually associated with a certain beer. So there's the Paulaner itself and Augustiner itself and all that. And here you have a Hofbräu tent and these. But is there, you also see like your business, sort of the independent family-run tent. And obviously they select a beer because you do that. But how did the other, how did that structure kind of evolve here in Stuttgart, where you have obviously the breweries, the Dinkelakers, they'll have their tents, but then you have other families. How did that?
Well, it's divided in two pieces, I would say. There's the so-called Zulassungsrichtlinie, which would be like kind of the constitution for the Cannstatter Vasen, I would say. Okay. And it's written in there that every brewery that sits in the city region of Stuttgart has the right to put up a tent on the Cannstatter Vasen, as long as they are brewing beer in Stuttgart. So this is one thing. And we've got the Stuttgarter Hofbräu, we've got the Dinkelacker as a brewery, and then we've got Schwabenbräu, who used to be two separate breweries. Nowadays they emerged, but so we do have those three. And then there is one so-called Landbrauerei, which would be
it's like a regional brewery.
A brewery from the nearer region, not from Stuttgart itself, but from the nearer region. And one of those breweries also has the right to put up a tent. And this would be nowadays Fürstenberg, which is from Donaueschingen, which is, kind of the region. And then there are other tents that can try to get a space on the festival fair. You have to apply for that. It used to be every year. Nowadays, it is always a 5-year contract, because the the money that you need to invest in order to put up a festival tent like that, the amounts are so huge that the risk with a 1-year contract is not bearable.
Sure.
So nowadays it's a 5-year contract, but after these 5 years, I again have to apply, put together a whole bunch of documentation and concepts and things like that. It gets easier, of course, when you are well known.
Sure.
And the officials know you and know your business and the way you're doing it. Then, of course, it's a lot easier now. And those independent tents like ours, we are picking a brewery that we like to work together with.
Sure.
So it's a different
you
kind
get to
of
choose, and that could change
we
over
choose
time.
the brewery, and on the other hand, the brewery got the right to put up their tent, and they choose a person who runs it for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's clear. So have you ever been approached or given thought to doing this elsewhere? I mean, I'm thinking, I always wonder this, and I've asked this question in the après-ski context of, could this work somewhere else? And I think in the States, it would be really hard to make something like this work. There's a lot of variables, I think, that are challenging. But has anyone ever approached you and said, hey, we'd like to do this in, Chicago? We have our German festivals and our beer festivals, and you're an expert.
Yeah, that happens about almost every day, that somebody comes up with this great idea to bring everything to Chicago or to Shanghai or to wherever, you name it. The thing is, I right now, because of the cancellation of the Oktoberfest, somebody tried to do an Oktoberfest in Dubai. And when I got the information package for this festival in Dubai, I looked at it and I said, not one of our tent owners is going to go there, because the restrictions are too much. You have to rent the tent. You have to rent the decoration. You have to book your music, the bands, through this company, through the organization. And then it's, no matter where you put it, it's always going to be artificial. That's my opinion. I like to do it here. That's where it comes from. That's where it belongs. And the whole surrounding, it has to be on the Cannstatter Vasen, and you, I think you cannot just take it and put it somewhere else and hope it to be the same.
It's not going to be the same. And I totally agree with you. I mean, there have been obviously some examples of people trying to do this overseas, like the Münchner Hofbräu. They have a building in Las Vegas that almost, the exterior kind of resembles the original, right? But it's a totally different experience. You can't imitate this, right? It's nice. I'm still going to go to it if I'm in the States or if I'm in Vegas, because, it reminds me of the original, but it's never going to be the original, and it could never really compete with it. It's just kind of an artifact that kind of, gives you a little bit of a taste of it, but not really.
A little bit of a taste of it.
And as the owner of something like that, you don't want to dilute your brand or tarnish or take that risk either, right? You don't want to have your brand out there, and then some people say, "Oh man, I'm not so sure about this."
If you're trying to transport everything to another country, it's probably too expensive. And if you're thinking, well, then I don't take my stuff, then I go on a different place and try to rent everything there, then it's not the same anymore.
Plus, there's no way that I would ever wear lederhosen in Dubai. Like, it's just no way. It's never going to happen. Yeah, the other point I think is really important about the fest, the feeling that I get, and one of the things that I love about it is that you really have almost all ages represented. It's really the entire community. You have the young people, as you mentioned, who are going, they're excited. This is an event that they look forward to in their childhood. When I'm 17, 18, I can't wait to start going to the fest. But then all the way through folks who are, into their 80s and whatnot, and they may be on the wings or on the side. They may have rented a private booth or a box or something like that. But I think this is like one of those unique events where everybody comes together literally under one tent. You all listen to the same music, which in and of itself, I love it. Some people don't love it, but if you love it, you really, really love it. And, and you hear the same songs every year. And then there's usually a couple new songs added every year, but it's almost like this pattern of life, and it really brings the community together, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of one of those special things about hosting that. What are your favorite things about doing that?
Well, this is actually one part of it. Hosting so many different people, the poor and the rich, the old and the young, the locals and the foreigners. That makes it special. And you might have a Friday evening where, of course, most of the people are on the younger side, I would say, and they want their party. They want lightning special effects. They want huge party bands, and the music has to go bam, bam, bam. And even if the band has a break, then you need your DJ who takes over for half an hour, and then you've got your video walls where you have the communication with the people, and then there is, let's say, not Friday night, but Tuesday at lunchtime. And then you've got your elder people, and they even come and play cards, and they eat their chicken. They are happy to get it for a little lower price, and a smaller band than maybe a little bit different kind of music selection that they're playing, older songs that they can sing along and stuff like that. It's fun having all that, and those 17 days under this big roof is really something special. The team consists of about 200 people, and they are from all countries all over the world. Young ones, older ones.
It's for everybody. It's a place for everyone.
All the nations that you can imagine are working together under one roof. It's really special. It's long hours. It's really exhausting, and it's really demanding. But still, it's something that if you like it, you want to have that every year again. Mm-hmm. That's a saying of my father. He always said, if you had this big roof of a beer tent over your head, you either like it or you hate it. And if you like it, you want to have it again and again. And if you hate it, you have it just once and then never again.
I agree with that. I'm on the side, obviously, that loves it. I think most people love it, and it's a great cultural sort of melting pot. Everyone's coming together.
Yeah, that's the right expression.
Yeah, and it's a nice thing. So, just a couple more questions about you. We talked kind of about travel. I'm always ask about food. Is there any particular food, especially, do you ever travel anywhere because of the food? or is there anything, that really draws you? I mean, I was wondering, you mentioned Chicago. Do you like, hot dogs in Chicago are a thing, right? With your green relish and all that stuff.
Sure. If you are in Chicago, you have to eat that. You have to try it. Yeah. Traveling just because of the food, I would say no. I'm not that much of a food aficionado that goes places just because of the food. But of course, when we are in Asia, we try to look around and taste whatever can be tasted. And if we are in France, of course, what we do love is Italy.
Yeah.
The food in Italy. If I would have to choose one cuisine of the world to stay with for the rest of my life, I would probably say, if it's not the Swabian cuisine, then it has to be the Italian one.
Yeah. So as far as Schwäbisch cuisine, you have any favorites? Is there anything that you're, your mother was Bavarian, so was she cooking Bavarian things for you, or did she learn to make Spätzle and Schimpfnudeln and all these?
Sure. She had to adopt, and what I think every region has their specialties, but I really do think that the Swabian cuisine is kind of special. There are things like Linsen und Spätzle und Seitenwürstle. It's really not very sophisticated, or it's neither is it hard to cook, nor is it expensive, but it's something. It's like spaghetti and a good tomato sauce. It's just, it makes you feel good. It's
comfort food.
It's
right?
a comfort food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spätzle in the wintertime, a Geisburger Marsch.
So a Geisburger Marsch is like a broth with beef and Spätzle in it and vegetables.
Yeah.
It's kind of a broth stew, and the Linsen are lentils, so like lentils with a Wurst, but it's a what is this item?
It's kind of a wiener.
Like a wiener type. Yeah.
And you put some vinegar on top of on the lentils, and it's really it's
there are great parts of the cuisine here.
Zwiebelrostbraten, of course.
And, these are classics. So.
Maultaschen. Schupfnudeln.
Yeah.
There are some really nice Swabian inventions, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So, is there anything, sort of last question, is there anything that you'd like to tell anybody about the future, where things are going, anything at all? Any future plans or?
Well, in the very moment, the plan is to get started again. Mm-hmm. And we are really, really hoping that the people did not forget about us. If you're looking downtown, everybody is going out and is going places, is enjoying the fact that you can sit outside in the cafes, and I have the impression that people still want to gather and want to get together, want to have their events. I don't think that when we start again next spring that we reach the same numbers as back in 19.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so, because I still think that some people would be a little bit hesitant, and also the big companies that we need because of their bookings might also, some of them might not be able to, because the pandemic hit them just as much as it hit us. So they might simply not be able to afford going to the Vasen with their whole staff and their clients. So this will take another 1 or 2 years, I think. But I do think, and I'm really hoping, and I'm also a little bit convinced that looking around now, it convinces me that people are social beings and they like to be together with other people. It's as simple as that. Yeah. And I don't think that our product is one that people don't miss. It's something I think that they did not get used to not having it. There are things that you get used to. If you don't have them for 1 year, maybe for another year, then you might not need them anymore. But I don't think our product is one of those.
I don't think so either. I think everyone's looking forward to the next one, and we'll see who's right. I think the demand is so pent up and people are so eager to go back to doing festivals and being at a place like that it'll pick up rather quickly. At least I hope it does. And if I can help in any way in bringing people
you're more than
to
welcome
Stuttgart,
to,
that's what I'd like to do. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Great. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please check out the links in the show notes at eatdrinkfun.com/podcast. Please also rate and review, as always, if you like what you're hearing. You can find more on Instagram or Twitter at eatdrinkfun. You can also email me at info@eatdrinkfun.com. Thank you again to Karl Maier, his family, and everyone at the Göckelesmaier. The intro music is Pluck It Up by Dan Hennig, and the Fest rendition of Country Roads is performed by D-Lollies. Until next time, here's to eating well, drinking better, and always having fun.